It's every parent's worst nightmare. For mothers, it's a Pied Piper with candy luring their kids inside, never to be seen again. For fathers, it's their daughters going inside and getting knocked up. This film is actually about neither of those things. Tonight I ruin Creep Band.
What have I told you about wandering off? I've told you once, I've told you 100 times. Stay away from vans. Only bad people own vans.
Hey, what is going on? It is another episode. Yay! Woo! I've got a chair this week so I can swivel back and forth instead of my awkward up and down movement I was doing last time because I was actually on my knees and it was really uncomfortable. So, tonight's movie, is Creeper Van, and it's about a van. And it opens up with, for some reason, these two teenagers see it at one night, and they're walk up on it, and they're trying to break into it. And I don't really know why anybody would look at that van and think, I bet there's a bunch of cool shit in there. So they're trying to get into the van, and the passenger side window's down. So one of the guys sticks half of his body trying to climb in instead of simply just unlocking it because it's down. And there's a window comes up, but instead of being made out of glass, it's like this passenger side shaped piece of iron, like a razor blade that shoots up like a reverse human guillotine and just chops him in half, which actually didn't look bad for a low budget movie. But and then the other teen sees it, so he takes off running, and the van starts up and starts chasing after him, meaning there was a guy sitting in the driver's seat the whole time. So it chases him and runs him down. And then the opening credits roll. So now that I've introduced the villain, I'm going to introduce the protagonist, who is at the unemployment office trying to get a job. His name is Campbell. And he's that shitty age, you're in your early 20s. And he's got no car, no job. He's trying to get a job. And it sucks trying to look for a job when you don't have a car, because you need a job to get a car, and you need a car to get a job. So you just you got to take whatever and just deal with it. And it sucks. It's such a bad time, and you don't really even know how to fill out applications yet. You're just guessing, and you're probably doing it for nothing. They're probably going to throw it right in the garbage can, but you have to do it and do it and do it until finally somebody doesn't mind that you're a loser and decides to take you on. They're like, we can pay this guy very little. So he gets a job, ironically, at a car wash. The first person that Campbell meets is Amy, and then after that he meets Mr. Kaufman, his new boss. And after work one day, he tries to get tacos. This guy kind of can't do anything right. He couldn't even get tacos. But on the way out of getting tacos, it's after work, and he sees the Creep van, and there's a for sale sign on it. So he's like, I'm going to get that van. And I'm assuming that Creep van is pretty cheap, because shortly after he calls the guy, another girl calls immediately after, and she wants to look at it too. And the van is a piece of crap. And it's so it must have been selling for $100 or something. So I go to the next scene, and it's the blonde going to look at the car, and she asks if she can test drive it, and she goes to it, and it won't start up. And how this guy is making this van able to start up and not start up, it's kind of weird. But the seatbelt starts tugging on her, and then it starts cutting into her shoulder, and then he's behind her with a meat tenderizer, and just right in the back of the head. So she's dead. The next day, Campbell tells Amy about the Creep van. He didn't call it that, but he tells her about the van that he's interested in buying, and she immediately shoots him down because that's what girls are really good at doing for guys, is just shooting down stupid fucking ideas. And guys are kind of the same way. Guys, like, if a girl has a stupid idea, the guy will just be like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. But if a guy has a stupid idea, the girl's just like, nope, no, you're not gonna do that. That's fucking stupid. We're not gonna do that. So he's still gonna do it though, or he's still trying to. But he kind of dismisses it. Yeah, I do have notes in front of me. So he gets done detailing a car, and inside the car, he finds a duffel bag. He doesn't open it, but he takes it out of the car and puts it in the lost and found. When I was like 21, I used to detail cars, and if you find something in the car, it's not lost. You don't you work around it. If it's in your way, you take it out of the car, you clean around it, and then you put it back in. You don't like, oh, I found. You didn't find anything in somebody's car. It belongs to them. They know it's there, so he takes it to the lost and found, and his shitty coworkers are watching him. So when he disappears, they go in, and it turns out it's a duffel bag full with like 20 pounds of weed. And now it's, I don't know. I think they took the whole bag, or maybe they just took what was inside of it out. Most days on Amy's way home, she passes good old Campbell at the bus stop, and usually just drives right by him. But today, she decides to pick him up. She's driving him home, and they're talking. He's kind of talks about himself because he's the new guy in town. He's not actually the loser I made him out to be because he's a slacker. The loser he's not the loser. He's just a guy who's starting over because he went to LA and he tried to be an actor, and he met this girl, and the girl like maxed out his credit cards and ruined his life. So his friend offered him money for a bus ticket to come out to Michigan, and he could live with him. So that's where he's at now. That's everything that happened to him up to this point. And now he's in Amy's car explaining that to her. And she asked him, which is kind of funny thinking about it now. It's like, because he thinks she picked him up because she's interested in him. But she really picked him up because she's curious about the duffel bag, because she got an angry call about it. So she's asking him, do you know anything about the duffel bag? Because there's a guy who's pissed because the duffel bag's missing. And Campbell's like, I found a duffel bag and I put it in the lost and found. I don't know why Amy didn't bust him then and there and be like, why did you take it out of his fucking car? It doesn't belong to you. It's not lost. It's in his car. But she's like, well, he's like, we need to find it because this guy's pissed. So I guess that explains the shitty coworkers took the whole bag. Campbell had invited Amy inside for a beer, and she declined and drove off. But a little bit later, she decides, maybe I'll go back over. So maybe she does kind of like him. Maybe she wasn't just asking about the duffel bag. Maybe it was kind of a twofer. Like, I do kind of like him. The duffel bag's my way in. But at the same time, this dipshit took the duffel bag out of the car and caused this. But that is kind of like, that's their icebreaker to where they can be like, oh, well, now we have something to talk about. So she goes back over to his house. And he lets her in, and he fetches her that beer, like, in really, really quickly. Like, he leaves the screen. Like, I don't expect shit to be in real time, but, like, he left, and then he was back with 2 open beer bottles. And she takes one swig, they start making out, and then he kind of gets on top of her, and just immediately, like, unbuttons her shirt and starts feeling her up. And she's like, whoa, what are you doing? It's like, this guy got walked to first base and tries to steal third. And he's like, what? She's like, I'm not doing that. Let's slow down. So he's like, all right. And then she gives him a kiss. Kind of say that, like, you didn't blow everything, but that was weird. She's like, I'm going to take off now. And he's like, okay. And so she leaves. But first she's like, will you help me look for that duffel bag tomorrow? She's like, this duffel bag thing, it's just, do you like him? Do you not? Are you just using him to get to the duffel bag, to figure out where the duffel bag is? So he agrees, and then she leaves. But she was there for like a minute. Like, she spent more time walking from her car to his front door than she did inside. Had like one sip of beer. I was like, all right, cool. See you tomorrow. So that was kind of odd. So the next day, the Campbell asks his flaky coworkers about the bag of weed, and they don't know anything about it, but they're kind of like the typical movie flaky stoner guys who are like, no, we don't know anything about that 20 pounds of weed. We don't know what you're talking about, man. And so Campbell gives up, and he gets a phone call, and it's a voice saying, hey, if you don't meet me in the back alley in 5 minutes, something bad's gonna happen to Amy. So he's like, all right, I guess I better go outside without telling anybody. I'm just gonna walk out there by myself and not say a thing. So he goes out there, and he's waiting, and then he gets punched in the chin, and then he's got a gun in his face. You're expecting it to be the creeper van guy, but it's the duffel bag guy, the hippie duffel bag guy who's pissed. And he thinks Campbell stole his bag and he wants it back. And Campbell's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't take your bag. I put it in the lost and found. And the guy's like, yeah, you did. But then out of nowhere, in the distance, the creeper van comes up. Oh, and you can't really tell if it was going to hit both of them or if creeper van guy was going to save Campbell. Either way, Campbell like shifts his weight and gets them both out of the way, saving duffel bag guy's life. So duffel bag guy's like, he's like, hey man, you saved my life. And he's like, he's not pissed about the bag anymore. He didn't care about the bag anymore. He's like, hey, I can get more weed, man, but my life is sacred, man. I owe you. Oh, and at that point, Campbell had his gun in his face, but he didn't need to because the guy was like, water under the bridge, man, we're good. So Campbell gives him his gun back, and that's solved. Duffel bag guy's not going to come around the place harassing anybody anymore. He's just going to go on with his life. And Campbell's roommate Bob gets a phone call.
All right. Now hold on a second. No, dude, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. Yeah, well, if he owes you the money, then why the fuck are you calling me? Yeah, your van, yeah, I know your van, but he doesn't want to get your lame ass van, all right? He's already getting a Pinto. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's not even possible. All right, and why is it when someone talks about fucking someone up, they always go with anal penetration? Oh, yeah, you know what? Fuck you, all right? You need to...
Campbell finds Amy and lets her know that she doesn't have to worry about the duffel bag anymore. And of course, he doesn't go into any details whatsoever as to why. He just gives her the guarantee that that guy's not going to be bothering him anymore, and we can all move on. And then he invites her to a movie. He invites her on a date. Let's go on a date. You want to go see a movie? And she's like, okay. Except he still didn't have a car, so she has to pick him up. Which, that's one of the worst things about not having a car, is like trying to meet girls, because you can't be like, hey, you want to go out to dinner? And they're like, yeah. It's like, okay, cool, pick me up at this time. So you can't do that unless you know them. But I mean, if you're just, you just can't. And it's something that, I don't know, it wasn't really ever explained to me, like the importance of having a car. I mean, it was just like, yeah, so you can get from point A to point B. Oh, so you can have freedom. Oh, so it's, it was all these things, but I could get around without one, and I didn't have money, and I didn't want to have a job. But it's like a rite of passage, because we don't really have that anymore, where you would do something, like a lot of like religions and cultures would have something that happened. So it's like, well, you weren't a man and now you are, like your Bob mitzvah, however you say that, or like how the Amish people have that day where they get to go be free and see if they like it, and then they can come back. I don't remember what that's called. Actually, I looked that up. I have it written down. I'm not gonna look though. But us American boys don't have that. It's just kind of graduating high school is kind of your rite of passage, except from the day before you graduate to the day after, nothing really changes. Because a lot of people get their cars 2 years before they graduate, like, because that's normal. You're supposed to do it when you're 16. But when you don't, and because you don't realize it, or you have a friend that has a car, and you live close to everybody, you live close to everything, so it's like you can pretend to be an environmentalist, but hey man, I'm saving the planet. But you don't realize that's like your first enforced responsibility. It's like that's your first baby. You have a car. You have to take care of the car. You have to feed the car. You know, you put the gas in the car. You pay the insurance. You have a bill, and you slowly. That's your first bill, and then you get more and more responsible as you climb up. Instead of being like, I don't have a car, so I have no idea how to pay a bill. And then you get into your early 20s, and you have no idea. You get all your bills at once, and you're like, I don't know how to do this. What? Help me. And nobody helps you. They're just kind of, because you don't even know how to ask for help. You don't even know you need help. You're just kind of like, And then I pay my water. And then my electricity bill comes and I pay that. And then, I'm out of other examples. Point is, it sucks. It sucks not having a car. Because when you don't know, when you think about it as just a car, it's just a car. Why do I need that? Well, you do. You need it because it builds character. Okay. All right, we're gonna forward through this because I don't want this video to be really long, because there's one thing I don't like is when I see a video that looks interesting and on YouTube, and it's like, oh, that looks really interesting, and then I look at the time, it's like 25 minutes. No, I'd like to keep these down to like 10 or 15 minutes. So Campbell and Amy go to the movies, and Campbell notices the creep van, and so he starts prowling around inside, and he finds that like the title has been changed over to his name and other weird incriminating things, which all along this whole movie I've kind of smelled like a plot twist forming, where it's like it's Campbell the whole time. That is Campbell's van. It's really been him, but it's kind of, I don't know, it's weird because you don't see the killer, but you never see him. But I don't know. That's why plot twists can be really stupid. So he calls Bob, or talks to Bob. Bob's pissed about the phone call that he got. But then while they're at the movies, Bob's at home having sex with his girlfriend, and the creep van drives through the living room where they're having sex and kills them. Apparently does no damage to the creep van because he just, backs out and goes. But then there's cops all over Campbell's place. And he calls, and one of the cops answer. Good old Bob's landline. I don't know why he has this movie's not that old. He's got a cordless phone from 1999. And no, there's like no technology in this movie, which is fine. But so he calls, cop answers, but doesn't want to give him any information. He wants him to show up in person. So the next day, luckily he had planned to stay with Amy that night anyway, so he wasn't in danger by the creep van. The next morning, Amy gives him a ride to work, where they both work, and drops him off. Then she circles around to make it look like he didn't just get out of her car. And they get inside, and damn, what happened next? I'm trying to remember. I have it in my notes. I'm sorry, I didn't want to do the whole digging through notes thing. Because I can't remember. Oh, because he goes outside for whatever reason. These two guys know his name, and they're like, hey, can you come with us? He's like, okay, and he doesn't say anything to anybody. And then while he's doing that, Amy gets kidnapped by the creep van guy. And so then these guys, I don't know what happens, because they picked him up. They're starting work, so I'm assuming it's morning. And then the next time we see him, they're dropping him off back at work, and it's dark. And we went from light to nighttime. It was like, what the fuck were they doing all day? And Amy's gone. And then he figures it out. I think he gets a call, so he recruits the duffel bag guy. He's like, remember that favor you owe me? So they go, and They go to, oh, yeah, that's right. The creep van guy called and said, meet me at this place. So they follow the creep van guy. And he gets duffel bag guy to go with him. And they meet up there, and immediately duffel bag guy gets killed. And then Campbell hears something, and he's like, he doesn't know what it is. It's a person coming at him, so he takes his tire iron, because that's the only weapon he's got, and he shoves it right down Amy's throat and kills her. Feels really bad about it. But then creep van guy comes out while he's mourning, because he's crying. He's like, fuck. And creep van guy comes out, and like knocks well, the tire iron's in her head. So he turns around, he tackles creep van guy and just starts beating the shit out of him, until eventually creep van guy turns around, turns the tables, and like pins him up to the wall by the throat, and has this, you know, Darth Vader style, feet off the ground. He's got him pinned, and he takes out like this chloroform and sticks it in his mouth, but doesn't take right away, because Campbell's got a wrench in his pocket that he forgot about, or like a pair of pliers, so he just like hits him, and then he runs over and he just yanks the tire iron out of Amy's face, starts beating him with it, and then the cops show up, and then they take him away, and he goes to jail, and this is how the movie ends, with him just sitting in jail, and you're kind of like, I was like, was there a plot twist? Because now it looks like he murdered Amy, and it looks like he murdered these people. It was a very an inconclusive ending / movie. It was kind of fun to watch. The kills looked good, but it was still like, what the hell? Because it leaves you still longing for the plot twist. Like, are we going to find out that maybe he's crazy and there's something wrong with him, and it was his van all along? But instead, there's just no closure whatsoever. You're just like, now he's in jail. That sucks. Bummer. Oh well. I will say, it's probably one of the longest 80-minute movies I've ever watched. Jesus. But it's all right. That's episode 2 for you, so maybe I'll see you next week. I don't know how often I'm going to do this. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe. Visit Damien Ruins Horror Movies on Facebook, where you can stay up to date on new written reviews. Also, you can find the entire written review catalog at DamienRuinsHorrorMovies.com.